Tiny Paul. What is your wisdom, Tiny Paul? Welcome to Bloodballed. It's Paul who is leaning on my shoulder, and me, Christian von Carmian, who is being leant upon.
Yes. My neck hurts and help. There we go. Oh, that was actually really crunchy. Ooh.
Okay, good. Just like snapping sticks.
Yes. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay, kind of, mostly. I'm really desperately looking for narrative stuff, so I'm hoping you can help me to find the narrative stuff in 11th edition of 40K that Games Workshop totally promised would be there. Every game is more narrative, every game is more balanced, every game is a competition. I'm having doubts on that narrative side.
Well, I'm sure I can help in a very meaningful way.
No, I can't.
How are you enjoying the beta test of 11th edition?
Honestly, like, I've played one game and I had a lot of fun with it. I think there's a lot of good stuff in there. I think it's got a bit more streamlined. I'm playing another game tonight. Now, to be fair, the only game I played was on Tabletop Simulator.
Which might be a problem suddenly.
Which, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
I am playing one in person against Steve tonight, so that should be fun. It's cool. It's very much like what I kind of wanted from 11th, which was a continuation of 10th with a bit more streamlined stuff. And they brought some stuff back, which is quite nice, like some gear costs points, which makes sense.
Melter guns if you're sisters. No one else has to pay for melter guns. Only the sisters have to pay for melter weapons.
Having more than one, if you spam 3, sometimes that's more expensive. So, And I like the disposition system. I think that's kind of cool.
It's pretty good. I
think when it comes to narrative, I think it's going to be a case of, because obviously they got rid of Crusade.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to know the numbers of Crusade, because like I wonder how many people did play Crusade out of the people who played the game, which we already know is like, you know, a percentage of people who collect and all blah 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 blah.
Maybe some people only did Crusade. I suppose the only numbers we can really get from that is figuring out what Games Workshop sales of different books were compared to other books.
And the other thing is, like, it's going to be difficult for, let's say, if we did a poll, it'd be difficult to get any reasonable data, because fans of us are probably in a certain disposition. Like, if people watch my videos, my most popular videos, my tournament videos, so they're probably more competitively minded.
I have a lot of narrative stuff, so it's probably going to end up like half and half.
Yeah, so unless we get some like data from a massive variety, and also people who watch us are very much into the hobby, when there's a lot of people who have never heard of YouTube who are playing this thing. Whatever data we try and get, even if we polled in the comments right now, you know.
People will just tell us if they played Crusade and if they like it in the comments. Otherwise, I thought when I was doing the live stream last Friday, if people didn't like 40k 11th edition, they're not going to stick around watching people talk about 11th edition of 40k.
Well, you say that, and how many times have I ever got a comment that says, I've not played since 7th, I'm playing 3rd because I think 10th and 11th sucks. If you haven't played the modern game in 15 years, they're still here. They still want to complain about it. And why not? You know, it's fun to whine and moan in the comments.
About a game system. Yeah.
About a game system in a video. A game system that you don't even interact with because you think it's bad.
Yes. Well, I'm thinking that 11th edition is becoming far more the competitive stuff than narrative stuff. And I'd put it off in my mind for like 2 editions. I made a whole video saying, no, look, 40k 10th edition, it's loads of narrative stuff. Look at all of these bonus books, and you've got Crusade and you've got campaign books. And my fan said, no, those are paid additional add-ons. The core game is incredibly competitive and anything tournament related is free.
True.
Yeah, annoyingly true. They changed my mind and I hate them for it. How dare fans do that to me?
I have a very weird...
Yeah, you can stop there. Just everything around you
I am very weird. Narrative for me is one of those interesting ones, because I kind of do want to work out exactly what people want when they say narrative. Because people say, oh, it's becoming more balanced, not narrative. Is that implying that people want the crazy stuff like Crusade, which makes the game more unbalanced but cooler? Then sure, okay. But also, if the base game is more streamlined, better, and yes, more competitive, that will also help when you play a game in a narrative way. Again, then it kind of comes down to, so what do you want out of narrative? Do you want to kind of just be able to tell a story, do your own thing? In which case, there's nothing stopping you doing that. Like, it's similar to like with D&D, right? You could just ignore half the rules of D&D if you want to tell a certain story in a certain way. Nothing's stopping you at your table doing that. But obviously, going to a pickup game, there needs to be some general consensus. Unless you're going to argue back and forth about what you're going to allow and not, then it gets a bit annoying, which is why the core rules being better and more streamlined helps in those situations.
Very pared back. Actually, looking at the core rules, it doesn't have a lot of the fluffy stuff. Even explaining like, oh, this is the shooting phase, this is when bullets fly and people die. Instead, it's, you will now do the lawyer speak and turn to part 17.2. After completing 17.2, do 17.203 if using the app. Otherwise, move on to 17.4.
Wait, that just makes the game easy to play. In a rule book, that's kind of what you want. It's hard to, you don't want to be reading through a bunch of fluff when you're just trying to work out how the dice work, right?
I would like some box outs of here's a cool thing, and so
Sure.
it's got that involved right in there, because many of the older books of 40k did.
Yeah, it sounds like what they're doing with the codexes is that's what they're doing. The recent thing with the Orcs codex, it sounds like the yes, it's going to be not hardback anymore, fine, but it's quite a thick book and it's like going to be mostly lore and whatever. And then they're going to do the thing that they did with Age of Sigmar. They had like just the rules version with the cards. So it sounds like that's where they're going with it. I kind of find with narrative that narrative is a lot more what you put into it, and I wonder. This is again something I wonder: are there narrative players out there who are only playing with like their friends, in which case they're probably doing their own thing anyway, and they can be as narrative as they want? Is it narrative players that are looking for other narrative-minded people? If you go to a local game store, that kind of mindset is on the down.
And it's how easy the core rules are to give you that narrative stuff. How much of it is there without having to add your own things, like expansion books had been.
Yeah, so it's a really, really interesting one. I think
I'm glad I picked a good topic for the video.
It is a good topic for video because I am more and more of the. I don't want to say I'm of the opinion that I think competitive is better than narrative, because that's not true. I do prefer competitive to narrative because, one, I'm not a big lore guy in general. I do like making my own stuff, like the Screaming Ravens. I enjoy, and I love the fact that my Screaming Ravens army plays exactly how I designed it. Like, even if that is like coming into it from a competitive mindset, trying to make the best list I can, it still works exactly how I thought it would. And yes, Aethan, Shard, and Cave and Shrike aren't part of the Screaming Ravens, they're actually part of the Raven Guard. But
Shraven's Crike is.
But yeah. Shaven Crike and Sathan Arn. So that is very thematic. And I think that's the difference. It's thematic versus narrative. You've got a very thematic army doing exactly what you need to do, but it's still in a competitive way. So when you're playing the game, you don't have that kind of storytelling in there. And also, it's very difficult to tell storytelling in like a
single game,
right? Or a single game where you're playing against someone, you're not exactly going to be doing the D&D thing of trying to like bounce off each other, because the thing with narrative for me is narrative takes a lot of work, and it's a lot of give and take, and it's a lot of working with someone like-minded. No D&D is better than bad D&D. If you have a clash at a table for any sort of tabletop RPG, it ruins everything. If you have a clash of personality at a game of 40k, then that's one game of 40k, but also if one person's going in there competitively, one person's going there narratively, then you're already off to a bad start. If two competitive players get together, you generally know what's going to happen. Two narrative players get together, there's also then like how far is one person narratively compared to someone else. Is there something that Games Workshop can do without just releasing a whole separate thing for narrative to bring them more in line? Which
they maybe should. I was okay with different ways to play, and then you can say, I'm doing a narrative game, you meet up with someone, you use the narrative stuff, the narrative stuff. Because Games Workshop's definitely identified that many players want to tell stories with their games of 40k, not smash two equal point sides together to determine who is the best general or who bought and used the meta army better. Then, having identified this audience, maybe Games Workshop just made the edition more narrative in a merging of competitive balance and narrative story, or they left it entirely to comms releases, have a press release that narrative will be better catered for, and then continue with updates to event packs and not much else. Because when I'm looking at my narrative stuff, I'm not playing the same sort of primary mission over and over again, which is good, sort of. But I'm struggling to see the narrative aspect of the whole reason I play 40k, because I would happily give away all of my competitive trophies I have, apart from best play ones, and play much more fun, silly games.
Yeah, I guess this is quite an interesting dynamic, because I have never done anywhere close to winning a competitive event and I am still more of the opinion that I prefer competitive. But I think that is because when I play a game of 40k at a tournament, this is a slightly different narrative, but when I make my tournament videos, sometimes when I'm playing a game, I already have how I'm going to tell the story of that tournament in mind. And sometimes I even have like an idea in my head of like how this would like be a lore-based story. Like I can kind of come up with that myself, but it's very much a me thing, which doesn't get shared, and it's also like separate to the game, right? That's the thing that's my.
It's you sitting at the table, your opponent's like, he's planning something crazy, and he's like, Ethan Sean's going to say something funny, and then Centurions, and then Centurions. Yeah.
I think this video is going to be, or this episode of Blood Bowl is going to be Paul tries to discover what he actually believes about competitive narrative, because there's part of me that just thinks that the way I think about narrative is a very separate thing to the way I think about competitive.
Yeah, because I know you like tournaments.
With competitive, I play the game. Narrative is on top of that. It doesn't really need to interact with the game. It kind of is based on what happens during the game. I can pull a narrative out of a game. I don't need to put a narrative into the game, if that makes sense.
Yeah, whereas I like there to be stuff there already. It should be there in the game.
People want narrative in the game that they don't have to like extract themselves and like make their own headcanons out.
It's there, the base is there, and then there's adding,
Compared to 10th, 11th does okay because of the forced dispositions. If your forced disposition is kind of the right one for what you want to do anyway, because it does, like, for example, Take and Hold or Purge the Foe are very low in terms of actually doing actions.
They have no actions on the primary.
Which means that you can basically, and there's only like 2 action secondaries now.
Yes.
And if you get both of them in one turn, you can discard one, or you can shuffle one back in.
Yes. And you can discard the other one for command points. If
you wanted to play, like, I'm the shield wall of death, Take and Hold, you don't have to now go, but I also need to get some like scouts for some points or a combi lieutenant. You know, I am Imperial Fists. Here are 60 heavy intercessors. They're going to stand on objectives. I'm just going to check that,
I was going to check the same thing.
Ample Siege Force is Take and Hold. Sure, that works. Dawn and the lads, we're going to stand in the middle. We're going to Take and Hold. We don't have to do actions. So in that case, you can build your list in a much more narrative way because you can fit your list building into how you know you're going to be able to play the game. In 10th, 36 Centurions, great at Purge the Foe, everything else. Which means that if I could just play Purge the Foe every time, it would still be, but at least be better. Now you don't have to worry about your army going into a mission that narratively they would never do. Like, your Take and Holds or your Purge the Foes are never going to be like, oh, we need to do Terraform. Like, no, you would have a different
force would be sent out to do that mission. Yes.
So from that perspective, when you play a game and you can extract a narrative, 11th is better. If you just want narrative innate within the game, unfortunately, it has become a lot more
previous editions are going to be
stringent.
better, and Conflict 47 may be better, and things like that. Yeah.
And here's my other problem, which is that I have no experience of anything before 9th, and I don't really have much experience with other games. The only other game I can really think of is Gaslands.
There
Gaslands is fantastic. I can't remember if we could swear on this episode, so I apologize if I have to bleep that word. Because you'll start the game, and it is the most fun, like, hilarious. You can really imagine this as an absolute death race. And then later in the game, when you've got like 1 card left each, you can then really work out that this game is actually really mechanically interesting. And you can actually really like do both the fun, awesome narrative stuff and the actual like thinking, competitive, playing a game stuff. Gaslands merges those perfectly. There's also like a Crusade mode in it where you get sponsors and build your cars up. All great. Crusade in 40k I always found was a bit... Sorry, and the other thing with Gaslands is the game doesn't take that long.
Yes, it's what, half an hour, 40 minutes?
It's not that long. You can take as long as you like because it's a very chill game. It doesn't take much setup. You just need some Matchbox cars and a few little bits and bobs and the dice.
Get your Hot Wheels out.
Get your Hot Wheels out, exactly. With 40k, you need a big table.
Far bigger than a dining table.
If you and your friends do not have a big table, you then need to go to a club, which means you need to arrange a time to do that.
And have that facility.
You then need all the terrain.
Yep.
You then need to, obviously, decide the mission, bring your army. And if you want to be, very narrative, have a painted army.
Oh, even competitively, 10 points, Paul, 10 points.
Yeah, 10 points. Either way, there's a lot more that goes into a game of 40k. And when you're trying to do a crusade that's long-lasting, unlike something with D&D where it's like all the characters at the table, if you play once a week or once every 2 weeks, you get 3 hours a session, you can make some progress. If you're playing a fairly large crusade, you have to wait for everyone else to do like one round, unless one person gets way too far ahead, in which case the narrative then breaks the game down. Because yes, one person has
Yes.
done a lot more in their Crusade, but they are also a lone-op Knight Despoiler with hyper battle cannons, and your Vanguard vets have OC0. Not that I'm bitter, but
Did you get rid of them after they got that scar? And get new
they
ones in?
they were literally less than worthless because
I see. So you had to destroy the models and buy new ones and paint them.
I melted them down and I remade them from the ground up.
Forged anew.
That is where I think like Warhammer 40K's problems come in, is that at some point the narrative and the competitive clashes, because it's because you can do it, but it requires a lot of cooperation with your person you're playing with, and
that's where you got the levels of narrative. How narrative do people want to be, and are people using Crusade to supercharge a cannon that blows up the sun in game?
Same with like
on the
when we
table.
talk about Legends or the Crucible of Champions, like you can use all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like if you want, and there's nothing stopping you, and you know, you can do whatever you can do whatever you want. GW, contrary to what you believe, is not going to come to your house and break your kneecaps if you don't play the way they want you to. Unless you 3D print your models, in which case they will. Or if you use Tabletop Simulator, in which case they might try and kneecap you, but maybe not. We'll see. Yep. But I think to be able to have a game which is very narrative from the rules up requires a very different approach to game design
than what Games Workshop currently has.
Is not the way the Games Workshop is going. I think that is probably just because tournaments are becoming more popular.
And they get money from that.
They get money
easily,
from that.
And it's easy to make YouTube videos about it and advertise it.
It is a business decision, realistically. There's someone at my door, which is very annoying. So I'll be right back one sec.
Okay. Hello, I'm the person at Paul's door. Oh, no. I'll pick you up, little man, and throw you around. Whoa! Yeah, this is the last time you don't take Johnny Bones seriously. Oh, you owe him so much money. Oh, shake that money out of you. Ooh, this is what gooners used to be. Yeah, I'll take care of them, boss. I'll deal with this guy. You think that's good? Yeah, they'll get my knuckles cracking at you.
All right, we may need to stop for 10 minutes because they're going to shut off my water for about 10 minutes to do some upgrade, and then they're going to knock again and make me check the water. So give it 10 minutes and we'll get back into it. My water meter has been upgraded.
Okay, that was very quick.
I know, right? That's the kind of hard-hitting commentary you get here at Blood Bold. You find out that Paul's water meter was upgraded.
Awesome. Important things. The narrative of the water meter. Yeah. When I'm looking at these asymmetric missions, which is the core of it, where people have got different primary missions, they may be the same in balance. Many of them look kind of the same. It may be like minor differences in points. So one person has points for holding each objective. One person has to hold at least one and hold more. They're very similar. At least it encourages interaction. Yeah. I haven't played any missions where both players can hang back and score victory points and not really interact with each other until the very end. But the balance, I think, is too far off. Purge the Foe is very, very strong.
And again, this is kind of something with a competitive mindset. Not so much that a meta is going to form, but as people play, people are going to start to understand more and more what goes into a good list for certain armies, and then go, okay, well, if a load of people are playing Purge the Foe, I will play Disruption and do this specific kind of list.
Because Disruption might be a good counter for it.
It goes round and round in circles.
Could be that. That would be the ideal.
That is where, again, the narrative and competitive completely delinks, because then you go, I'm now building a list to beat the meta. I'm building a list to beat certain thing, not I'm playing my thing.
Because I'm such a good Disruption army. Instead, it's because I think that will beat Purge the Foe. Whereas Purge the Foe is like, I'll take the center because so many other people that they're facing off against want to take the center. Kill the enemy. You get weird lists, which are like 6 to 8 units in a Purge the Foe army. And a lot of the secondary missions are also about killing the enemy. So Purge the Foe can easily spiral. The enemy will have fewer units to do what they want. They can't do the thing in the center. They're dead, and you get points for that. So Games Workshop may want to try and refine the primary missions in a year's time. Yeah. Hopefully we don't get thrown like loads of balance patches, because then the cards you bought are not going to work compared to the app.
Yeah, no, I played one and I lost, not by much. And it was also, I was playing Disruption, he was playing Recon, which if you've seen that mission setup is horrifically unfavored towards disruption.
I haven't played that one yet. I have been playing Recon or Taken Hold, because with Sisters, it's Army of Faith and Chorus of Condemnation, so it's either Taken Hold or Recon. With Deathwatch, it's Bastion Task Force and Librarius Conclave, so it's Taken Hold or Recon. And Genestealer Cult has been only Taken Hold because it's the host of Ascension.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I've been playing Shadowmark, Librarius, which is Recon or Disruption.
Yeah, it does seem like Disruption is not the correct choice.
Disruption feels like it was made for teams. If you can get the right matchup, you can absolutely blunt the shit out of someone. With some of the Disruption ones, you get so many points. You can get so many points so quickly. You could actually just go, okay, I'm just going to play this game for 3 rounds and then die. But I'm going to probably I'm probably going to max primary in those 3 turns.
That is the Genestealer Cult approach.
Yeah. So actually,
Sometimes.
I think like something like Genestealers or Tyranids, I think actually Disruption would work quite well. I think Raven Guard is okay, although it definitely does Recon better. But
I would have thought so, yeah.
Needs must, I can't be the Recon guy. It's just that, again, it's going to be a lot of data around this, which again leans into that competitive thing of they're going to be releasing more. They're going to be kind of, for the first 3 months, they're going to be more stringent with balance updates, which is good because it means that even within narrative, if you're playing against someone who plays Tau and it's like, oh, we play narrative games but also Tau are broken, potentially.
Yes. I know you need a bit of each. You need definitely a bit of each if you want to play a narrative side.
Yeah.
If you want all competitive, it can just be perfectly balanced. You'll still want some flavor because you've got asymmetric armies and now you've got asymmetric missions, which people seem to like. The bits people are not liking is like the Games Workshop release of stuff. The Games Workshop side is bad. The 40k side, all right.
Yeah, I do like the asymmetric missions, and I think take a lot out of it and put a lot more in if you want to do narrative. And I think if you find a group of people who have that narrative mindset and you want to play 40k, bend the rules if you think it's cool, or just play. No, I say just play different edition. That's kind of a lot to say.
Well,
but
like Crusade is still technically compatible with 10th edition stuff. It's just that the new codexes, when they come out, will have nothing for Crusade, and there'll be no new Crusade books.
The Drukhari Codex, when that came out in 10th, had an amazing bit of like the lore, like the Crusade lore.
Yes. Oh yeah. That was fun.
I do wonder globally how many people actually got to the point where your Archon died.
You might stop playing so far through. It depends what kind of group you're in. Sometimes you can keep a thing going for 3 months, playing once every 2 weeks. Other times you might do meet up twice and then life gets in the way and you never get round to it and there's something else distracting you.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened with our Crusade. Like, we got a few good games in and then it kind of all fell by the wayside when people got busy and that kind of thing. So it's...
Yeah. I did an Armageddon campaign and I did all but 2 of the missions. Then we didn't meet up for a while, and then just before the end of the edition, we met up and did the last 2 games.
There are going to be groups out there who are playing multiple times a week doing Crusade.
Oh, yeah,
and that's, it is a real shame that those people are no longer being supported. And again, it's an unfortunately probably small percentage of people who play the game or even interact with Warhammer entirely. But it is still a real shame because even just looking at it is kind of cool.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of stuff can be there.
Yeah, and I don't know what... But is it also one of those things where if they're putting an effort into writing those rules and trying to make those rules cool, you don't then have the effort to put in things elsewhere, which are the things that's making the money. So that's kind of the business decision.
They don't have enough staff to do all of the things.
And that's the thing. There's just not enough staff or enough time, and then it's just picking your poison, and the poison they picked was competitive.
Mm-hmm. And then slowly balance over the next few months.
And also like the way the rules work. Kind of streamlining that has helped.
We need to get some working army rules. That would also be good for like Sisters, and Necrons are a bit too powerful, I think, with their resurrecting characters. As people understand it, you precision out a character and it gets returned by reanimation protocols.
Yeah, but on the flip side, precision is way more powerful.
Oh yeah, it's good because I'll just assign all the 1s and 2s to this character. Oh, they're dead, really? With their 3+ save and 4+ invulnerable save? Shame.
I think that's one of those ones where yes, it's kind of it's very jarring. It will take some time for people to kind of work around like how that works and what's the best way to do it. Because at the moment, I've actually got more characters in my army than I had before.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have bigger units, more characters in those units.
Yeah.
Almost big death blocks can be done because there's so few actions. That's more the meta, and I'll do a separate video about how I'm finding the general games, because I want to look at what Games Workshop is trying to add in terms of narrative, because we have the 2026-27 mission deck, which has some narrative bits. Like, did you know there'd be twists that people will throw out? but those are only optional, and it's only if both people want them, and then you pick which twist you've got.
Yeah.
There's only
I
5.
actually looked at the twists. I don't mind that because the twists in there are all of the twists have like a
balancing feature.
Yeah, they have a commentary that just says this is good if you're like
If you have not a lot of terrain. If you're like if you don't want to do different missions and you don't understand them, then play the same mission.
Yeah, but I think that's fine. Like again, it's not
nice.
the thing is it's not the twists of what it was before, where the twists were
a 3d6 charge.
Yeah, which was funny, but
yeah, it's oh, you're playing World Eaters or Space Wolves. Ooh, guess we know who's going to win now.
Because that's like even though that is not competitive, that's also not narrative. That's just wacky. If you were like wanted to do a narrative game and you got that one and you were a gunline, you were against World Eaters, you go, well, okay, well I've lost this game. Oh, the narrative is I lost. Oh, okay.
It's like a rearguard action now, where you could do something from it. But yeah, the not winning is the not fun. And then Crusade has consequences for that if you were working it together. I think whether you're doing a very narrative thing or a very competitive thing, you would say, not that one. That's not fun. That's very much shifting the balance of power.
Yeah. But yeah, and I think that's the other thing with it, is like the game still has to be fun. Even if narratively it makes sense that one team is going to absolutely dominate the other, that's not fun. And that's again where it comes down to narrative really does require that cooperation.
Games Workshop started talking about, although they're like, oh, this is one edition, we're only doing one thing, they started talking about like casual play and match play, but they have no definitions from them. What they refer to, what they apply to, like all of the legend stuff and everything in the faction pack is all match play, including legends, which is confusing and upsetting some people. Like, no, now I have to have it in tournaments. Or it's not on the app, or it is on the app, and what's the app for? They haven't tried to define things, and it's blurry, and they've got keywords of this is a kind of play. Who knows what it means, though? So there's so much heavy lifting on our part to figure out what kind of games and how they should be.
Yeah, but I also think, isn't that fine? If you have a certain idea of what game you want to play, you can define that, right? If you and someone, if you're an opponent, does it really? Do you need GW to really define that?
I think there probably should be, because the amount of times you get to meet up with someone and be like, oh, we're both doing the same kind of game. It's a match play. Oh, we have very different ideas of what match play is. Or you get it online where, this is a match play game, therefore you can't have any of these things, and you can only have one force disposition forever. And we have to do set terrain, and we have to do it according to the tournament, and you can't just follow the instruction booklet. You have to do it as per the app. Very different ideas, because it's so badly defined. And if Games Workshop were to define it better and say, here's a category, here's a checklist, here's all the things that is what match play has and what casual play has, and if you want to change up how that is, that's fine, but that's the defaults.
I suppose it's not ever been something I've experienced in terms of, again, but to be fair, I very rarely go against like strangers outside of tournaments, and it's always just been, and the times I've been to like a club to play someone I don't know before, it's always been, we're just going to play very standard by the book, whatever the tournament mechanic says, because it's the easiest way to do it.
By the tournament book, yes.
If you're getting to the table and there's a discussion already about what is and isn't allowed, then and it's against someone like you don't know.
It would probably have to be done online beforehand, like on Facebook.
Yeah, I feel like a
Discord.
lot of times now games are arranged beforehand, unless it is a tournament, in which case you know exactly what you're getting.
Because
or if it's a certain event, then it has an event pack.
Yeah, there's a rules pack especially for that.
So you already know.
The only time that hasn't worked is once where I went to a thing and I said, the event pack says we do this. People there were like, oh no, we all go to this club normally. That's just an old event thing that they keep sharing. We do it by this pack now, the Games Workshop official pack. Like, oh, that is not what I signed up for.
No. Yeah, in which case that is just bad from them. I don't know, again, I have no experience of it where like someone's gone, oh, is it match play or is it this, that, and the other play? Like, normally we go, do you want to play, like, there's already that discussion before you get there. And yes, if GW had like a drop down checkbox that you could share to be like, these are the things we want to play, these are the things we don't, then yeah. But also, in your experience, has it really been that much of a problem? Or is it just kind of like people...
It's not so much a problem because I'm very flexible in how I want to do it. But even things in this edition for the games I played, okay, how strict do you want to be on terrain? Are we putting it exactly where it is by the inches and millimeters? Or is it, we've got the objectives, put them down as like, okay, we got a big terrain piece where it says to put one objective. and then the barricades and such in the gaps in between, which is how the mission deck instructions tell you you can do it. Otherwise, the app has its set ways of it needs to be down to the millimeter and exactly like this.
Well, that's kind of part of how they're trying to inject more narrative in, right? It basically means, like, here are the terrain areas. You can put whatever you want to. If you want to play in a forest, just plonk some forest down.
Yes.
But so that's a useful way of doing it. However, obviously,
also then conflict. Are we going to use this terrain set, or is it only going to work if we bought the Games Workshop terrain pre-painted or not? Because that's what the map shows.
But again, then that kind of becomes down to you and your opponent, whether that's if you're okay with that. If it turns out, let's say, that you put a bunch of trees down and the way that those kind of trees interact or the way that you put it in there causes a problem, that sucks. But that sucked all the time. That's been a problem forever. Where if you put the wrong terrain down, you have a bad terrain layout, it's going to be a bad time. I think having the terrain areas is nice, but obviously if you just put the terrain areas down with no like buildings or anything, then that's going to suck. Also, if you put like a giant building which no one can walk through, that's also going to suck. It's at least a better way of doing it versus you will have to use these exact L-shaped ruins every time. Like, you can really change up what's on those terrain pieces.
And it's a bit different, definitely different. And oh, is it too different? Yeah, circles becoming squares is doing a lot of heavy lifting in terms of narrative within a game as far as Games Workshop's concerned. Look, it's a square you're fighting over, and it's cover.
If you wanted to be more narrative, you could make those buildings, like one of them is a cathedral, which has a object in it that is why you're there. Like, you can start to really understand the reason for those objectives being there. One is a downed, Lander. Especially with the asymmetric missions. Like, if you're playing Take and Hold, one's a downed transport that you're protecting, and the other person has to try and get like a recorder from it.
That's adding your narrative onto it.
You have to kind of put the effort in to do that. It's not baked in to the GW thing.
Definitely not.
Has advantages and disadvantages. The advantage is you can put whatever you want in there. The disadvantage is you have to put something in there. Like, GW, when they're making the disruption versus recon mission, aren't saying one side is doing like this specific like narrative thing, the other side is trying to do this specific narrative thing. You have to kind of inject that,
which is relative to the armies you're playing and stuff.
Which is easier to do in 11th, but still a lot of effort.
Yeah. I mean, the core rules are very dry on the narrative stuff, as I've said. Previous editions, they had campaigns and how to run a campaign. They had missions in them. They had like very asymmetric missions like Meat Grinder and something with sentries. There's no missions like that as we did in 3rd and 5th and 8th edition.
No.
There is their campaign deck, which we should mention because that's a thing. People are practically giving them away. I got mine for £5 because that was the money I had in my pocket, and the person who got the Armageddon set didn't care about it. They maybe would have given it away for free.
Let me have a look at this. I haven't actually really looked into this.
Did you get the whole set then?
Yeah. I'm a loser.
Oh, you didn't even wait for the proper starter set. You went for the launch box.
Yeah, I gotta go for the launch box. Agenda cards representing goals.
Yeah, now the agenda cards are optional. It's a campaign deck. It's a fine campaign, but it's using the competitive mission deck with a bit of difference. There is an alternate primary mission if you want, and it is decided on a per player basis, and you get some long-term improvements if you can get like 35 points from your primary agenda. It's like a one-off different primary mission if already you're sick of Disruption against Purge the Foe again, and you don't want to pick 2 random different things. But it's a very short campaign. It's meant to run for 5 games.
I think what they've done, which I think does make sense, because I think that's just kind of how it was advertised, is basically a campaign within a weekend. If it's 5 games, that's the same as what is essentially, a competitive event is usually 5 games as well.
Yeah, was it 3 on one day, like the Saturday, 2 on the
3
Sunday?
3 on one day, 2 on another, right?
Yeah.
So I can see why they've done it that way, because what they're basically doing is going like, if you're someone who wants to play a narrative campaign, but you struggle to get to get the time to do something weekly or monthly, and then suddenly it all falls apart. But if you can just arrange one weekend to get people together, just one, you can do a full campaign and have all that stuff.
Well, as mentioned in it, that there should be a war master who is the games master who then decides everything, and it's entirely up to them how to make it work. It says you can try and make it longer, but you can't really make it longer. There's 9 places to fight over. You'll do like 5 of the 9, but even the missions are determined by your force organization and your opponent's force organization. So you may end up with the same primary agenda twice over, Game 1
Yeah.
and Game 2, and then Game 3 and Game 4 could be the same. I think I may get 2 runs through of the deck out of it, which would be a total of 10 games. I'm used to Crusade books that have 15 unique missions instead of playing 5 out of 9. And then I might get more out of it if I play the campaign, but from another side and using a different faction.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Your face is frozen.
One, if people do respond well to this, and two, how often they release these kind of decks.
I think it's evidently not responded well, because you can buy it online for like £4 secondhand. It's crazy. So yeah, they might do Crusade, campaign things like this again. Yeah. Maybe.
And in fact, if it's not received well, maybe they will then release a Crusade thing, like they did in 10th. Be like, okay, that wasn't well received. We'll make we'll make it like a 10th, and we'll release a big Crusade book with all the missions.
Like if they did a campaign book, I like the campaign book, especially the Maelstrom. Very different missions. It was pick things up and run away with them. It was about 1,000 points. There was bonuses, but they only lasted for 1 mission. In this Dominatus deck, there are battle skills and upgrades you get, and you pick like 3 of your bonuses for the next game if you have 3. But it's all very short term, and you can shuffle them around, so it's not like Crusade where you upgrade a specific unit to do things better. Because in theory, it is like a tournament, a competitive tournament. You're using the same force disposition and the same army list in all of the games.
Which I guess is what you want for if you want your Crusade, you want your Crusade to be the same force across those games.
Well, Crusade, you had your big roster, and you would pick the units from there. So if things died or didn't do so well, you can swap them out for other units.
Yeah, I guess, and then you could also swap them in and out for certain enemies.
Yeah,
I never really got to the point where that became much of a thing, outside of them going, I've got like 2,000 points, but I'm playing a 1,000-point game.
Yeah, you didn't have that many players, I suppose, to be against. Not a big diversity. Your head is very rolled to learn.
I've been scrolling, I've been flipping through the deck, and then I've got to the cards that are sideways in the narrative deck.
Okay.
So rather than turn the card, I'm turning my head because, I'm
That's
smart.
A normal thing to do. Oh no, it's upside down. Time to handstand.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I roll.
Yeah, there's no Crusade. Crusade was a lot of fun. I miss Crusade. It wasn't for everyone, but that's why the campaign books were a good alternative. There's less bookkeeping there, but we haven't got any narrative faction goals to work towards, so there's no tracking Votan mining or Tyranid consuming things, or balancing expansion to stay hidden within society as the Gene Stealer cult. Crusade is compatible with 11th edition, but we're not getting more support. The campaign deck is an easy way of doing a narrative event. I was very disappointed when I actually got it, because they hyped up the whole narrative aspect where you've got an agenda. If you find one of the agenda cards, the phases, like the Liberators, phases and outcomes, where it tells you your force disposition against the enemy force disposition and what your agenda would be, like planetfall, and you flip it over to find out what happens. And I thought, oh, it could be very linked to Armageddon and the locations you're in. It's stuff like your initial planet strikers failed almost completely at a terrible cost, with little hope of holding them. You're teetering on the brink of disaster, or your forces have fallen upon Armageddon like a thunderbolt, leaving you in the strongest possible position. It's very short. Like 1 paragraph is the only law.
Yeah. Again, I think, this is kind of a narrative thing of how much detail do you want before it becomes very written for you, versus how much of just an overall vibe do you want, so you can write your own narrative in there.
I can get that.
Because I'm someone who's very much someone who likes to write their own narrative. Like when I play D&D, I'd never use any of the D&D lore. I make my own.
Or what about the pre-done? Have you ever done one of the pre-done like books and campaigns and mission things?
I've played a couple of like
pre-written things,
pre-written campaigns in D&D, but I just don't like them because it just feels like for me when I DM, I like writing my own world and kind of building my own thing. I just find that more interesting. I don't want to be the DM mechanically. I like to be the DM both mechanically and world building wise.
Yeah, you should be, because it's more the narrator than the person who's keeping the game running.
Yeah. It also means I'm not kind of just like retelling a story that I'm like unsure of. If something comes up, I can make my own thing, because I have the understanding of my world. And I think if you gave too much like detail of what happens if you like lose that certain thing, it's like you lost because you're this, that, and the other happened. You're like, well, that wouldn't happen with my army because of XYZ reason. So it's nice that it's short, again, it's then the case of how short is too short. If it's just like, if it just says like you lost because you died, then it's like, okay, cool, that's not useful.
Yeah, okay.
It's a balancing act there as well.
Yes. One paragraph is maybe enough for a lot of people. I was expecting more detail specific to Armageddon rather than every now and then saying the word Armageddon.
Yeah.
You could have swapped the word Armageddon for D-Day. The D-Day landings have not gone as well as you'd thought, and you've got a minor foothold, and the wording is exactly the same. Maybe that's good, and you can apply it to any planet, to play this anywhere rather than just Armageddon, but I was expecting more of a, and then millions died for your failure, kind of grimdark elements, which are not there.
Yeah. I guess watch this space then. If they do the next like campaign or whatever, and they have another deck, if it's exactly the same words,
Right,
just with
yes.
the planet swapped in and out, then we know they've buggered it.
They've changed Armageddon for Pariah Nexus or Cadia or
Cadia
one
Nexus.
of them. I think they've got
Pariah,
something like
Imperial
7,
Guard.
the Bastior subsector. They've got like 7 ongoing conflicts at the moment that they keep jumping between. It was mentioned in the most recent White Dwarf. They made a list of them. What I was expecting or hoping for was, when they've got so much of an emphasis on what the War Master can do, there's no creating new missions from like combine these 3 things and have a set agenda or pick an agenda, and then there's also a set, like a bunch of twist cards. We don't really have them. There's location cards, which are okay. You get a twist for the missions, and the overall winner gets a bonus. I'll have to play the whole deck rather than not play the whole deck and just be looking at the deck from the outside. So it may end up way better than thought. I don't think anyone's really had the time to play the whole deck, considering most people will just sold it secondhand. What I am missing in 11th edition is no more custom characters. Games Workshop does a cool thing and we like it, and then it goes away, and then we're waiting for them to reintroduce it into 11th edition. Like, the Maelstrom rules don't work so well in 11th edition unless you assume that they're leader keyword and they can't be in units with enhancements. And this is taking away characterful character rules, and I like characterful character rules, and they may have to reintroduce them in 11th edition for additional money.
Yeah, well, I think to be fair, like, if you want to use Crucible or Champion stuff,
then you should do.
You should do, and I'm sure you can. It's one of those ones where if you're going into that narrative way, you don't have to nickel and dime rules as written, because it would just yes, it doesn't work for 11th, but it has these keywords, and it basically makes sense because you just take the 11th rules and kind of tack it on. I liked the rules. My problem with them, the opposite.
Same thing. All right, you're the opposite. Okay.
It's kind of the opposite problem. I don't think they were mechanically well thought out. Like, narratively, it makes sense. You can make your own character. It's kind of how I described what they should do with certain things, is they just tacked on the rules that you could get to certain armor types. And there was no real thought around it, because then you go, okay, I now have an 85-point model that has 2 Inferno pistols, gives lethal hits to 6 Inceptors, and has a massive damage 3 weapon, and also can has a massive axe as well.
And fires 2 rail cannons from its wrists.
Yeah, or I'm Death Guard, and there's a character here that allows me to basically make the most insane thing ever. Or, my broadside has 5 rail guns. All cool stuff. But
that sounds like the same problem you've had already, rather than the other side of the problem. It's the balance isn't coming in.
Yeah, and again, when people think of narrative, they're like, we don't care about balance. But the problem with that is
there still has to be a limit.
You have to draw a line somewhere, because otherwise you get the problem.
Otherwise, the narrative changes to one person turned up and then took their models off the board and went home. The other person crushed them and also didn't have as much fun.
Yeah, and you could be like, narratively, yes, I have my broadside leader has 3 railguns because he found them in a bin. I've got my narrative there, but also it's just not fun. Similar with other games, like with D&D, you can like min-max a character to hell, but it's not that fun. But also, that's a cooperative game where you are more incentivized to play with the flaws of your character if that's how you want to play. Some people don't play like that. Some people are very mechanic based, but I like to play a character with flaws, which allows me to do more roleplay stuff. I can't really do in a game like 40K. You can't be like, I'm going to make this really silly, like this massive misplay because it's what my character would do, because then you just kind of lose. And also, if it's the kind of thing where it's like, would your character really do that if it's going to just make them lose the game?
My Dragon Slayer charges the dragon.
Maybe you do have a Berserker Gunko. I'm going to run in and try and kill something, and they just die.
But they have to have the stats to actually kill something.
Either they have to have
Otherwise,
stats back up, or you have to build your list to make it so that's not going to be a losing. Like you just don't lose the game off that, because otherwise you're never really going to get anywhere. With something like D&D, you can work around it because you've got other party members.
and you have a
can
games master there
strengths
to help
elsewhere, a
things
game
out.
master there to keep things balanced and all that.
So you're saying that 40k should go back to first edition and have a games master involved?
So I said this in my video about narrative. I said that the D&D, the 40k narrative should have a game master. People said about first edition it had a games master.
Yes.
I don't think it should be a third party. It should still be 1v1, like you against someone else.
Yeah.
But one of you is running a scenario for the other. So one of you goes in with information and you're basically running a puzzle for the other person, or you're running a scenario for the other person, which allows you to kind of build up a story for them to go through, which can have a win or a loss condition. Yes, it might be unbalanced or whatever, but you as the game master have then the power to change that kind of stuff on the fly, which you don't get in a 1v1. You can't like both write a thing together and go, okay, we'll try this and this will be how we do our game.
That
and then
sounds
realize
fun.
it's meant to be unbalanced, and then you both have to try and work out how to unbalance it. If you have one person having that power, they can be like, oh, I've accidentally put far too many poxwalkers. Oh, a bomb goes off now and all these poxwalkers die.
Or it's oh, you killed the lead poxwalker that was controlling the node poxwalker.
Yeah, and I think that for narrative, I think narrative 40k, where one of the two people is running for the other person, would be really, really good, because it solves a lot of the problems that you have with 40k being ostensibly a 1v1
competitive fight
of winners versus losers. Like, again, you go, a narrative person might go, oh, I don't care if I win or lose. But eventually, if you're losing over and over again, that just kind of means
with
that
the same army. It's like,
it just means like, oh yeah, my cool like homebrew army. If like the Screaming Ravens lost all the time, which they bloody did. Like,
this is like playing Imperial Guard in 9th edition, using an 8th edition codex against the most overpowered codex creep. Like, oh yeah, my guardsmen formed line, guardsmen all died. Oh dear.
Yeah. Because then, like, obviously, you could then have like a redemption arc for like the Screaming Ravens or whatever, as it kind of gets better and better, but that takes years. Versus if you just want to have kind of a cool story which could have a win or loss based on that kind of thing, I think that works a lot better. You don't need a third party person for that, because then that also brings you this bias. That's why you don't really that's kind of why you don't do PvP in D&D, because it just horrifically unbalanced and never works. So having just still 1v1, but one person is running the scenario for the other.
I like that. I think Games Workshop should make a scenario book, not like here's a bunch of rules in a pile, make your own, but a general structured campaign. It could be explore a facility and you've got your army rather than a kill team, because I kind of done something like this with the kill team against the NPOs, where it's 2 kill teams against the computer. And they've done the Warhammer Quest stuff before with mixed, generally bad results.
Yeah. There's also the Horde mode from Warhammer, right? That's kind of a similar thing.
Yeah.
I honestly think, should you do it? Yes. Should we wait around and find if they will? No.
Make our own anyway?
If people want to do that, like, I would highly encourage people to kind of get together and start coming up with those kind of ideas. Like, make some cool scenarios that you can run for your friends and share them somewhere. Because I think if that kind of idea takes off,
then we actually have proper narrative 40k.
Then there's something that GW might try and go, oh, we'll do that as well, do it badly, and then we just ignore them and carry on doing what we want to do.
Yes.
Like, even the kind of asymmetric ones, like, you have a mission which is just, like, I make a mission for you where I'm like, I am holding a fort.
Yep.
You need to get inside, and you can either sneak inside and grab what's in there, or you fight through and grab what's in there. And I could construct like the,
sentry rules, things like that.
The rules for all that kind of stuff and make it my own. And then maybe it's unbalanced. I had to tweak it on the fly, but make it so that's where the narrative comes in. That's where you start to ignore kind of the rules. And that's where you kind of go, okay, yes, I said the walls had 1,000 wounds, but maybe, you hit them in a weak point, then that removed the bit of it. That's where that really good narrative comes in. That's where I think narrative 40k should go, because it just allows you to get rid of that competitive part, which is going to be innate in any kind of game like this. Because it's just a 1v1 PvP game. And if you remove that element, you can suddenly really open up, because then it becomes the storytelling, especially as someone who's done DMing. And if you are a DM, you kind of attest to this. Like,
I have, yeah.
A lot of beginning DMs, including myself, start off as a DM versus player mentality. But eventually you grow out of that, Because so when you start with a DM, as a DM, you go, oh, they destroyed the cool boss because I didn't balance it right, or oh, they solved my puzzle really easy, oh, they didn't get this. But eventually you work out that you've got to, you're telling the story together, and then you give them what they want, and then you start to find the joy there.
Yeah.
And I feel like if
and
more
if
people
it's
have
like,
that
we just killed
mindset-
the boss, and then, okay, well, they were meant to do way more damage, so they resurrect again, if you get a moan from that, rather than
if you have that
"Ooh."
mindset for 40k narrative stuff,
So now
and
we
you
just
as the
need
person making the scenario, you're no longer invested because you can make your own, like, you don't have to put your cool special army in there as the narrative part. You just put something for your friend or the person across the table from you to use their narrative cool thing, and then you can swap around, and then you use your cool narrative thing that you treasure. No one likes their cool their cool homebrew thing to be the thing that loses. Like, no one likes their character dying.
Yes, it's it was like the very old, like, 4th edition kill team. You had a kill team, and then you also had the bunch of mooks that were guarding the thing. And there's one evil villain, but otherwise it's a bunch of mooks. Yeah.
So and then you, from that you go, one person now doesn't have their kind of own personal emotional attachment to the result of the game anymore. Now it all becomes about, I'm setting this up. There is a win condition, there's a lose condition. You can do some really silly stuff, like, again, with D&D, where you come up with something creative the DM has to then work in. So you as a player could be like, oh, I have these Gene Seeder cults. Could they dig up under here? And I go, I haven't thought about that, but yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
However, you now see where the models are. Like, even something as fun as just going, I've built this wall, like, there's a fort here. I have put a piece of cardboard over the top of the fort. You don't know what's in here unless you can get inside and get information. And if you dig up in the middle, I suddenly remove the lid and go, okay, you can see what's in here now. It's 100 centurions. now what do you do?
Yeah, that's fun. I'm still thinking of, like, 4th edition stuff where they had sentry rules and units coming back rules and preliminary bombardment rules. You can definitely do a lot of these things already much easier in Conflict 47. So maybe Conflict 47 is a good way to do it. But yeah, it absolutely can work. Absolutely can work. I think that's where we ended. I think that's our inspiration for people who want the narrative stuff. It's not going to be in general 40k 11th edition already, despite the bits that Games Workshop's put in. It really should be its own separate thing.
Yeah, they have made 40k more thematic, but they have not made it more narrative. I think with narrative, you are going to have to put in a lot more effort than you probably want to. But when you do, you can get a lot more out of it. So that's my kind of, like, thesis statement about narrative, is it requires more effort, but that effort is very heavily rewarded if you can do it.
I agree. That sounds good. That sounds good.
That sounds good. Bye.
Yeah, I'm happy with that as an end. My darlings and viewers, have a great day of narrative 40k.